republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Kim Meltzer. Dr. Mike Aiello.
Present.
And that's Kim Meltzer is here. I didn't have my mic on. I don't know if that matters.
Paul Gilliam.
Here.
Julie Matuzak.
Here.
Mary Bednar.
Here.
Mary Hine.
Here.
All right. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make the approval for the agenda this morning.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the minutes from the May 5th meeting.
I'll make the approval for the minutes for the May 5th meeting.
Support. Any further discussion or corrections? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. So we have two agenda items. Number one, regulation of short-term rental properties within the township, and the second one, discussion of the pump station study. So let's proceed with item number one, regulation of short-term rental properties. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna move a minute. Oh, how we did that?
Yeah.
Got to pay attention here, Paul. So, agenda item number one, regulation of short-term rental properties within Clinton Township. There was a fair amount of material in the packet. Kim, I think you introduced this, if you'd like to speak to it.
So we've been getting complaints, or I've been getting complaints regarding partying and ongoing disruptions in residential dwellings and subdivisions. And I've gotten two so far, two separate locations. I'm not sure if Building's gotten any reports or anybody else has gotten any reports on it. There was and is an ongoing ordinance in, I'm trying to think of the name of the community, starts with an H. Not Heartland, no. Anyway, where they're dealing with a similar situation where there was an actual shooting, and not to say that this is what's, evolving here in the township, but I can see the writing on the wall that, people bought their homes for with the intent of a residential dwelling, not to have some commercial enterprise going on, which is what short-term rental is. It's more of a commercial type opportunity, business opportunity. And I don't think it really it belongs in a residential setting. So I contacted our attorney, Linda McGrail, and asked if she could draft an ordinance that would help us get closer to recognizing this is a potential problem for our community and nipping it in the bud so that we are not allowing this type of activity to happen, because I know I wouldn't want to be in bed at 11 o'clock at night and having to listen to loud music and partying outside my window, especially now the summer's coming and windows are open, till have partying going on till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. It's not what a residential setting is supposed to be set up to accommodate. So if there's ways in which we can draft this language so that it makes it closer to a business or commercial location, like I believe was the hotels in the area of a vicinity there. It's not that we're a complete prohibition, but it is a regulation of such so that it complies with the quality of life for Clinton Township.
Madam Chairman? I just wanted to say that I did initially talk to Ms. Meltzer about making these short-term rentals located within commercial districts. And upon talking, I believe, to Mr. Miller or maybe Mr. Thompson or both, they both highly recommended against putting it in the commercial districts. They were fearful that some of our commercial enterprises would then have second-floor apartments where they're actually living there full-term, and so they were adamantly opposed to that. So what I did do, and you can see I did quite a bit of research. There's a couple cases out there, one out of Sterling Heights, or one out of St. Clair Shores, which is how we shut one down in Utica, and then it was held up on the Court of Appeals as a home occupation. and that was upheld by the Court of Appeals. I've presented a slideshow. I'm not going to go through the whole slideshow, but from MSU Extension Center, just kind of pointing out the issues with regulating the short-term rentals. And then I think if you choose you want to regulate it, the idea is that you make it of such a nature that it's just well-regulated and may not be beneficial to be locating in Clinton Township. And you'll see in the ordinance that I drafted, there's things such as you have to have someone on premises at all time. That will greatly reduce the Airbnbs within the township in and of itself. And I understand that some people are for it and some people are against it. I don't take a position on it either way. I've just been asked to look at this and to draft something, and so that's where I stand now, and welcome to take any advice, input, changes, anything of that nature.
I just wanted to, Kim had mentioned something about the building department with complaints. I've had maybe 5 in the 23 years I've been here. So I think it's regulating something that doesn't need to be regulated, in my opinion, and the staffing levels that would be necessary to do what she's asking, or what this ordinance is asking, sending out 30-day notices. And I don't have the staffing to add more to my ladies right now are already buried in work with permitting, and we already do rental inspections. We have the 2 complaints from this year are both registered rentals. Any nighttime complaints of noise and partying, we have a mechanism for that. It's the police department. That's my opinion.
I will echo that opinion. I have had 2 complaints in the time I've been with the township, both from the same person, which sort of tells me this is not a big problem, and I really don't want to go create solutions for problems that don't exist. We, in this area, do not have enough hotel space. We certainly have no camping spaces in places where people can park their campers or their boats or whatever. My experience with Airbnbs is that people use them for weddings, funerals, reunions, hospital visits, that sort of thing. And in our area, for bass fishing, which is a not very recognized, serious economic activity here. And so, and as an example, the college bass fishing tournament championship, whatever, is coming soon. 412 participants, college students, plus then all their families, their grandparents, aunts and uncles, people coming to watch this fishing tournament, which I don't sort of get. But
Where does that take place? Where is
in
it?
Lake St. Clair.
Where, though?
Well, it operates out of one of the marinas. But the question is, where do all these people stay? We don't have enough hotel rooms. We don't have camping spaces.
Well, there's other communities, right, that have
Oh,
those
yeah. In
places.
the entire metro area, bass fishing is a really big deal and a serious economic driver. I think we're trying to regulate a problem that doesn't exist. We have noise ordinances. We have parking ordinances already. If people are using this full-time as a rental, they're getting rental inspections. I don't think we need to regulate anymore. And I think as said, I'm not interested in solving a problem that's not a problem. Other folks?
Well, I can continue then if nobody else has any input. Well, again, when multiple residents come to me and with a concern, and I see it as a continued problem, this is not something that I'm kind of surprised to hear that that building has not heard more of it. Maybe we should get somebody from police here at another meeting if we can, to see what kind of impact they've experienced, because one neighborhood right off of 18 Mile Road, it's an ongoing issue. There's parking is a problem. There's cars parked on their other neighbors' lawns. Again, police are called, but then they disperse, but then they come back. So it is an issue where I think there is a tension that we need to address here that would either, as our attorney said, maybe force that resident that owns that property to be in attendance to address some of these issues. But I definitely think it's a problem. I wouldn't say we don't have any problems with this. And once word is out that this is something we're not going to address and people can come in and utilize residential housing for partying, I think we're going to invite more people into our community. And then we address it at that point. I just think it takes away from the importance of the people that are facing it right now and saying, sorry, we haven't heard enough of your problems or problems from other people, therefore we're not going to do anything about it. This is a residential dwelling. There should not be commercial activity in a residential dwelling. And nobody had that expectation when they moved into it. And that's my thinking is we do need more attention to allowing this type of activity in our community. We don't want that. I don't want that. And my heart goes out to the folks that have called me with complaints on it. Derek Wilczynski is one of them, attorney in our community who
If I could
has,
add, how are we going to fund this? I mean, you heard from Barry, he doesn't have staff to be able to do this. If we were to do this, I think a full plan needs to come back with the funding and how many staff we would need and how we're going to, I mean, I'm just going to say, we have ordinances that are not enforceable, and it's causing problems because then you have people coming to board meetings saying, why isn't this ordinance being enforceable? Well, it's happening at 11 o'clock at night. We don't have full-time people here. You know, I mean, I think instead of creating ordinances that we know up front we can't enforce, you know, we need to be able to say, well, if we're going to do this, how? Because the last thing you want to do is put this ordinance in place, and then people learn that, well, Clinton Township doesn't enforce it anyway. To me, that says come even more in Groves because we know they don't enforce it.
I'd also like to add, I got this ordinance at 4:31 last night. I didn't even know this was coming to Budget Ways and Means until about 4 o'clock yesterday. So the department that's being asked to monitor this didn't even know about it till 4:30 last night. That's kind of, I think there should be a little more communication between the people bringing these things forward with the department heads who are in charge of those issues.
So what are people's pleasure? We need a motion to do something.
well,
I mean, do we want to?
I think I would like to make a motion
can I ask
to
a
direct
question
the
first?
attorney.
So how many complaints have you had? And is it the same one house that's,
No.
you've had multiple
No.
complaints? Or
No.
I mean, like, because Julie
So
says
off
you've
of
had
it-
two. I mean, how
Pardon me?
often are you getting
So
complaints?
one is off of Canal, one is off of 18 Mile Road. That's just this year. I've had previous complaints, almost on an annual basis. I get a complaint, not a lot of people, but there are. So this year is two, and it's like back to back, and I'm like, this seems like it's becoming more of an issue, and we don't want the reputation that this kind of activity can be tolerated in a community. We're raising our families, and we don't want strangers coming into our neighborhoods, having parties, leaving a mess, and leaving with no responsibility to the quality of life that people want and expect in their neighborhood. They don't want partying all night long, from strangers coming in. Now, if it's a neighbor, that's having a graduation party or a wedding or something like that, they live there, and those are temporary things, and you celebrate those things on a temporary basis, and everybody's understanding of that. But that's not what this is. This is strangers coming into our community, into your subdivision, into your residential street, partying, leaving a mess, and then walking away. And who knows if they're going to come back? Who knows, what other negative impact there could arise because of it. So I think I'd like to direct the attorney to narrow down a solution working with the building department that would accommodate
Madam
putting
Chair.
some teeth in this type of enforcement.
Should we do a subcommittee where we could, maybe you, me, and the building official could sit down and discuss if somebody else wants to be on it and go through the ordinance and,
I don't know if we have to call it a subcommittee, we could just do it. I mean, really, that is what, my understanding was this language I'd gotten, I don't know, probably 10 days ago. And I
Yeah.
thought it was dispersed out by the attorney, but that's, we don't have to make a decision today, but we definitely need to have a conversation about it and then see where we can.
Before we go to that direction.
Right, Paul's been waiting to
sorry.
speak.
Okay. All right. So just a number of points on this. I wholeheartedly agree. People should have the right to enjoy their property without being inhibited by, commercial enterprises. However, the problem that we have here is we're swimming upstream against the federal government. The federal government has basically incentivized this as a business opportunity for, in a sense, individuals and private equity to come in and buy properties and lease them as short-term rentals. How the feds did this is through accelerated depreciation. Basically, people can come in, they can buy a home, they can list it as short-term rental. Because it's then a commercial enterprise in a residential neighborhood, by the way, it is then allowed for accelerated depreciation. Then they can go out and buy the next one with the tax money that they would have previously had to pay in taxes. Then they wind up with 5, 6, 7, 8 of these things, and they turn it into a commercial enterprise. So it's being incentivized by the feds, but it's causing a problem in the local communities. I don't think it's as much of a problem for Clinton Township as like lakefront communities, as downtown areas, properties by the lake for the bass fishing tournament. But I do believe that people come here. I know that I've rented an Airbnb in a residential neighborhood in Lansing to attend a graduation. It was several families, all supporting this young person that graduated from MSU. It is a growing problem throughout the state. But I also agree with the fact that we cannot create regulations that we can't enforce. So there's a number of different, as I'm going through the MSU presentation here, there's different ways to regulate this. The city of Marquette, the city of St. Joseph, New Buffalo, created St. Ignace as well. They've created different mechanisms for the regulation. Some Airbnbs, you rent just the bedroom and the residents are on site. It's almost like, what do they call that? A bed and breakfast, right? That's what we would be creating. We would be creating this bed and breakfast sort of like ordinance, and I don't know if that's realistic. People generally don't like the owner on site, and the owner, I don't think, really want to be on site as people are renting their properties. So I do think the building department needs to be involved. I also think we as policymakers need to be in the room. If we're creating a policy, if we're directing the attorney to write something, and then it's important that both the person proposing this, the attorney, and the department that's going to be in charge of regulating it have to be in the room. And so for that reason, I believe a subcommittee is probably the right way to go with this.
And the subcommittee should also include the police department and the fire department in terms of
Or at least police.
safety issues.
Ms. Matuzak, I would probably say fire would not need to be involved in it. It's for single-family homes, and if building is involved, the codes are very similar.
Okay.
And we have almost identical rules with regard to fire safety and building safety.
All right, then the fire department's excused.
All right, who else, can I ask, Madam Chair, who else would like to be involved in this? I know I would, in the subcommittee.
I'll
And
be
you?
involved in it.
Okay.
obviously I'm in.
Obviously, the attorney is in. Someone from building will be in.
And then
Someone, we
police.
need to contact someone from police.
And what about DPS?
There's no reason for DPS.
Okay.
Okay, Kim, will you be in charge
I'll get in
of?
touch with somebody from the police that could.
Okay, and then will
participate.
you be in charge of calling us together?
Yep.
Thank you.
And then do you want this, we can meet before the next Budget Ways and Means meeting. Do you want it brought back to Budget Ways and Means?
Might as well. We can look at it again. Yeah, yeah, I don't know
Leave it
what,
up to the committee to.
yeah.
I'd let the subcommittee decide what.
There's a
Okay.
subcommittee of Budget Ways and Means, so that
Right.
would be the logical
Yeah.
conclusion.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on this topic?
We need a motion to that effect?
We need a
Yes.
motion to that effect.
Okay. I move that a subcommittee be created, working with the attorney, the police department, building department, as well as two members of this committee as listed as Chair Matuzak and Clerk Meltzer.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, been moved and supported. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Item number 2, discussion of township pump station study. Go for it. Whichever
So-
one of you is going to talk about
I'll
it.
let Mary
will-
start
I'll
and then-
start, and then Scott can get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty. As part of this year's budget, we included a study that can be done on our pump stations. In many board meetings, you've heard me talk about, we have seen all the sanitary sewer pipes over the last 10 years. And what does that mean? We get to start over and look again because it's underground and no one knows, or, they don't know they're there. And if there's a problem, we'd rather catch it to be proactive. Well, we started talking and we decided that probably it makes sense to look at all our assets, right? So we want to look at our lift stations that are part of the sanitary sewer system as well. The board has proved over the years us putting generators at these lift stations for redundancy. Because what happens is these lift stations, you basically have houses go gravity flow, it get to a depth that's too deep, they lift it up, and then we gravity flow it again to eventually get to the mid, and then ultimately down to Great Lakes Water Authority's treatment plant. These lift stations, if they fail, what happens is then sewage starts backing up, right? When do you typically see failure? Well, when there's power outages. So that's why we put the generators there. When there's a storm, well, when they're storming, that means it's raining, which means the system's filling up, right? So it's so the idea was we better get generators. So we were being proactive. At this point, what we'd like to do is be able to get into all of our lift stations and look at them so that we can start scheduling, okay, what do we need to do on this maintenance? Or can we get a better pump in there to be more efficient, which could save us electricity costs, but also that redundancy, it's just, we have some pumps that are in from the 70s. So the idea was get a thorough look at it so we can start making capital improvement discussions. I'm at that point going to say, Scott, do you want to add detail to that, or what do you want to do?
I think you pretty well summarized most of it. But I will add to in the fact this study also includes the integration of looking at the SCADA system, which is their remote means of being able to operate and see how all the stations are functioning through one portal. And that was done, Joe, about 12 years ago or something like that, 14, 15?
Yeah.
So no, there hasn't been, so as part of this study would be to include that as part of, some of the recommendations that come out of that. And since, and we've included Motor City as a partner in that they're the current integrator that's been working with the township to do that evaluation at each of the stations. And also looking at not just sanitary, but there are 2 stormwater stations that are being monitored by Clinton Township. And currently one, right now, the funding we're trying on improvements, Mary and I are looking at how that's going to work, the one over at the Ruggiero.
Yeah. So the funding, I'm not sure if it will be part of the study, but we can maybe.
No, but we're
dig a
just looking
little
at how, something's going to come out of it,
So we have we have the Andrea or the Ruggiero pump station that basically picks up 18 Mile Road, Hayes to Garfield, and does it go all the way down to 17? I don't remember if it's any. Anyway, it's a fairly big area, and so we're looking at that and to be able to figure out what the cost is and then how we're gonna maybe go about figuring out how that's gonna get paid, because I'm anticipating some pretty heavy-duty cost. The other one is the Starks Drive pond, which is over by Fire Station 5. And that is actually already set up where the cost goes to basically the people in the district, goes to their taxes. So we get the pump fixed, it costs $10,000. Don't quote me on the number, there's 10 parcels. So on the taxes, $1,000 goes on each one of them to pay for that type idea. So we already have a mechanism set up for this. The other one we don't, but I figured let's figure out the costs and then we can also figure out, the mechanism. So those are going to be on there as well. The SCADA, the other thing that's on there is the emergency bypass operating pumps that we had for the SSOs. The good thing is we haven't had to operate them because we've designed a system and so forth, but they're still there. And if we did have an emergency needed to operate them, we got to make sure that they actually will turn on and so forth. So we're looking at all of that as well. Why is this here?
That's my question.
Because it's a little bit different. AEW's contract has projects that they can do. And they get paid based on a percent of the project. So if we're doing a sewer project that's $1 million, they might get paid 6%, just throwing a number out. And then they also have hourly rates. This is a study, so it's more of a lump sum, and it explains what the study's going to give us and so forth. I know their lump sum is based on their hourly rates, but it's an anticipation. They think that it's going to be 20 hours per pump station, or it could be, but one might be 25. So it's a lump sum contract, which is different than how our contract with them are set up. We've done studies in the past, but we've always brought them to the board as an approval type idea. And so we thought we had being that the board meeting's 3 weeks away, we thought why not bring it here first.
A similar format to what we submitted when we came to Budget Ways and Means for the water reliability study.
So this is not in the current budget.
It is in the current
It
budget.
is.
It is in the current budget.
It's just basically having Budget Ways and Means recommend to the board that we move forward with the study in the amount of type idea, because it's not, the way it's set up is not set up in accordance with the contract. If they came to me and said, Mary, we'll just do the hourly, I'd be like, great, fine. I think this is gonna benefit the township, because obviously not just the project, but they're saying they will get to the answers that we need for this amount of money.
Okay.
One more thing to add to that real quick is there is still additional budget funds, and Joe, you looked it up. What was it? 220, I think it was?
Left.
Or total.
Budget, so we about 100,000 left.
So there'll be additional, I think a lot of that will be part of some investigation work in the actual force, like the pipes that come out of the pumps, that we can hire a company to come in and we can bid that out to a
If that's-
contractor that can do a CCTV and cleaning and then get an evaluation that way. So there's funds still remaining to do that part of the
basically,
scope.
Based on the results of this, we might have to do some more study, but we have some flexibility.
I think that's where we're going to utilize those funds.
Okay. So, total cost, 134,300, is that correct?
Yes.
And the source of the funds is the water and sewer? Is that correct? Okay.
Budgeted water and sewer.
Okay. And I'm seeing in the exhibits here, there is different breakdowns, one of which is from Motor City Electric, that is the designer of our SCADA system. And they would then be evaluating their own system, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they would be doing so under the parameters set by AEW.
AEW as well as DPW or DPS water and
So
sewer.
DPS and AEW will be working together to then go out and hire subcontractors to do this type of work?
So, when we did the SCADA back in, I think it was 2014, I'll just say this, we did go out for bids, but once you pick the provider, it becomes kind of a sole proprietor thing.
Yep.
So that's why we need them to look at it. Depending on what they find, we'll be able to figure out if we can bid it out or if we have to come back as a it just depends on what they find. The key here is we haven't done any, technology gets better every year, right?
Correct.
Or I might argue it gets worse every year.
This is ages and
Exactly.
eons within the
Yeah.
technology.
10 years.
Exactly.
world,
So
right?
we need them to look at it and say, from a you just sent us an email regarding security. We got to look at that. I know Dave would like to send stuff to the cloud. I don't know if that's good for a water system to send to the cloud, because then there's another level of security we have to get to.
Right.
So those are things that we can discuss. Those are things that Motor City can look at, and we can go from there. And there'll be recommendations from there what we do.
But our system was designed by Motor City Electric, and then we're hiring Motor City Electric to do the evaluation of the system that they created for us. But we do have AEW and our department providing
Right.
oversight.
And they're looking at, it was designed for 10 years ago standards. What are the current standards?
Okay. Are there other providers that do this type of systems, that create these types of systems?
There are, but in order for us to switch at this point, you'd have to buy a whole new system.
Right.
But
I
again,
understand that.
let's see what comes out of this, and then we can make some decisions.
Okay. So is the scope of what we're looking at clearly defined?
I think with the,
I mean, going in, if we're gonna commission a study, we want to know exactly what we're looking at, not like, hey, we should just review it.
Right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll let you finish
No,
speaking.
No, by all means. Yeah, that's.
So the
point.
attached, that exhibit, that's why we took the effort to include that exhibit where it kind of shows the breakdown. I think it was the Exhibit A, to show that defined scope for each station and also the cost. Because I think even in there, there's a couple that have zero because really we've are already in the process of doing a lot there. So there's no sense in doing a whole bunch of the same activity. So each one we sort of looked at it holistically what we need to do each station. So that's why there's we kind of broke it down that way for that defined scope, knowing that that's the way we're proceeding with this.
So I understand the Motor City Electric, the 34,000 for them to look at their SCADA system, right? And see how it needs to be upgraded. AEW is setting the parameters for the 78,300, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so you basically, in a sense, have already evaluated this to say, what are the weaknesses or what are the things that need to be looked at?
And that's
Who is actually doing that work and review?
Well, we would be reviewing it with DPS.
So
Okay.
let me explain. We have a pump station that's in the floodplain. Okay, we know it's in a floodplain. We know it floods.
Okay.
We're having AEW as part of this report looking at what would it take to make it less vulnerable. Is it pick it up and move it? Probably not, because that's the reason it's there is because it's the lowest point, right? I mean, but what can we do to make it less vulnerable so that we don't have a problem in the future? Because when the river is flooded and these are flooded, this is when people need their sanitary to work accurately, right? I mean, so these are the things that we're looking at. So if you look at that table, and you say supporting notes, each one of those is things that we've identified that we need help to be looked at. It's not to
The only reason why I'm
identify.
asking the question is because it's too small to read.
Yeah.
On my screen.
So you understand, this is not
Yeah,
to
you need- it's
identify.
11 by 17.
Obviously, anything that when
can
they're
expand it,
looking.
Paul.
I know.
When they
but-
look in, like they'll do confined space entry and look at the vault. We don't know what they'll find, but we know we need to look at it. In this floodplain example, we already know the problem. Now we're looking at how to fix the problem. So just depending on each one, that's why it's defined the way it is. And if you want, I can get you readers if that helps.
No, that's okay.
I will give
I
you.
have-
I will tell you. I had an advantage because I had it on my computer, so I could blow it up many.
I should have forewarned everybody you had 11 by 17.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, right. Are there overall things that AEW is looking at, or is it each individual station has been evaluated to say what are the what are the things that we need to look at each individual station?
I think the overall part is the capital improvement planning, and just kind of looking at how we're forecasting, what priorities are we setting in the budget years, and what's an immediate issue versus something we can look at a couple years from now. And that's, I think that's part of the value, what we're trying to bring with the study are those considerations in addition to just finding what issues we come up with.
So in our capital improvement plan, we look at out 5 years. We actually look a little bit further. We just, because we want to see if it's coming type idea. When we were going through the ACO and the sanitary sewer overflow issue, we were putting most of our $12 million a year in sanitary. And then once that project, that was resolved, you'll notice that if you looked at this year's budget, we have more in water. But then we're recognizing, well, you know what, we can't neglect sanitary. So hopefully, I'm eventually thinking it's going to be a 50-50, $6 million each type idea. But we had to sway because we didn't do water for a little while. But we're at a point where we're starting to feel like, okay, let's prioritize. Is it the oldest water main is our most vulnerability, or is it this pump station that's our most vulnerability? So we can make decisions.
So the 134,000 for the study is going to, in a sense, help us spend on capital improvement over the next 5 years, and basically kind of help us determine what needs to be done and when it needs to be done.
Correct.
Okay? And therefore, I'm in favor.
All of that, jeez. I think anything we can do to keep ahead of our maintenance, keep ahead of problems is like money well spent.
My mother used to say, spend now, save later type idea, and that's not exactly the expression, but I had it 2 seconds ago.
I tell my husband the same thing, Anyway.
Exactly. All right.
I have a question, though. So when we first contracted with Motor City Electric, wasn't there any type of maintenance and oversight review throughout the contract in terms of what their project?
Oh, yes, so they've been maintaining it. So it's not like they haven't been here for 10 years, but now we're looking at, okay, what is the new technologies, like the example of the cloud versus, do we go that route? Because some people love the cloud and other people, but like the AWWA is kind of saying, you don't put water systems on the cloud. So those are, they've been definitely upgrading the system. But the question is, what do we need to get bigger? Dave is doing, putting stuff to the cloud. That doesn't mean he wasn't maintaining the system 3 years ago. So, you can.
Yeah, I just want to have an
benefit. No, I'll let him speak, and then I've got some other.
Okay.
So real quick to that point too, and Paul kind of talked about cybersecurity. They have upgrades to like our digis, which are our communication devices. So they are giving proposals for that to update, which we did like 5 years ago. So that's a constant that they're doing. Some of these things that are SCADA, our processes. The relays, how they're set up to do maybe at this flow and that flow, can they be set up to do like VFDs, which is not how the cabinet was originally built. So it's not really an upgrade and maintenance for cybersecurity. That's more of a change in a process that was designed 10, 12 years ago, 20 years ago, 60 years ago, or 50 years ago with the 70s, the Manila. Can we do that? I think that's the scope, and that is a holistic bigger approach than just maintaining what we needed to do right now.
So the other thing is, remember, SCADA is supervisory control and data and acquisition. Okay, so we can.
I always wondered what that stood for.
I'm surprised I actually remembered that, by the way, because you use the acronym so long, right? But anyway, so it allows you to control. So we could turn on something from a computer and we don't have to go out to the pump, okay? But it also gives us data. And a lot of people don't use that data. We've been using that data, but with that data, we can then say, can we operate this pump better? So that's what Joe was referring to is, or can we put in a different type of pump based on the data? So we're actually taking that DA part of SCADA and being able to have them help us figure out what's the next best thing to operate more efficiently. Is
And then-
that fair?
Additionally, with their scope of services is on the electrical side. So some of those components they did not install. It's done by electrical contractors and whatnot, but their expertise will be able to assist us on the electrical components as well.
Even though Motor City is not the one that put it in?
Correct.
So
But they have staff that are, that are.
So electrical, you have lots of contractors that can do
Yeah.
electrical, but instead
So
of
they'll
hiring
subcontract.
10 different companies to be
Yeah.
subs, they have the expertise to be able to help us with the electrical stuff on the pump.
So it's a twofold evaluation
And
of
then
what
they
they're.
subcontract out then, clearly. No?
Well, they could but some of those, depending on what comes of it, that'll be bid out to an electrical contractor.
Okay.
Like what we're doing with
Again, we can
improvements.
bid out the result, like, once we know the results, we can bid it out. But right now is to understand, what do we need to bid out?
Yeah.
So improvements, say at the booster station we're doing now, or improvements at Harrington Pump Station, those are being bid out to electrical contractors. There is a component where they have to, work on the SCADA integration, which is, a small percentage of that, but primarily that's all bid out to electrical contractors to do the work.
Okay. So this study is going to help us figure out what we need to do to make the system better. And then when we figure that out, then we'll
Possibly go out for
do
bid.
those contracts or bids or whatever.
That's correct.
Okay?
So the motion would be to recommend the board to do the study on, okay, I can make that motion.
Okay?
Support, but before we vote, just like finance to weigh in on their position on this. I mean, obviously, it's budgeted.
It's budgeted, yeah, so this is just. It is budgeted, and this has been the whole process all along, to go through the maintenance of the system to make sure that we don't have failures ahead of time. So yeah, no, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, and what is the timeline for the study?
Well, put it this way, I'm going to look at them.
I'm going to start immediately thereafter.
That was my
Board
question, too.
approval.
So once we get the board approval, which is 3 weeks, they can start. I mean, the key is the $12,000 CIP portion of getting the projects in the budget. I mean, we start our budget in September. I don't think they're going to be done with the study in September, but we kind of know which ones we want to look at first. So hopefully we'll have some information so that when we sit down to start doing our five-year plan, we have some results. I don't think I'll have the whole study. But
Those
do you think-
priority ones, though, because as part of that, they're going to give us a list of the
Do you
priority
think we'll
stations.
have the full study by the beginning of the year, January, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so from now till the end of the year, but with main priorities that have been pre-identified first to
Yep.
look for the solutions that then can be brought and rolled into the capital outlay.
Especially for next year's budget.
That's what I'm
any
saying. For
immediate
next
issues,
year's budget,
which we
I
have a
wanna-
couple already that we've been chatting about, so.
Okay, and then the full study report will be released once it's completed.
Do you really, it's one of those questionable things. Do you release it because?
Well, not released, but at least shared internally
Provide it.
within
Yeah.
the board and the department.
Right.
Or as I would say, as part of the budget, 5-year budget process, we'll show that with it. How's that sound?
Maybe at the, what's the meeting we have, the workshop.
Yeah.
workshop.
The
The
capital
workshop.
outlay
Not hearing,
workshop
right.
would be a good place to
I think
discuss
the
it.
workshop is the perfect
Yeah.
solution. Thank you.
That way it's available, but it's, because you don't want to necessarily start showing vulnerabilities and so
Right.
forth.
Understand.
Yeah, I think the whole security issue about water and sewer is really important, and we need to be more aware of that than we probably have been in the past. So, all right, we have a motion on the floor to recommend to the board approval of the study. It's been supported. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Thanks.
opposed? Public comment? Public comment? Public comment? Yeah, yeah. But he could still make public comment if he wanted. Come on. He could. He could.
The votes. You shut up and vote, right?
All right, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?